Fish on Fridays. I'm Al McCauley. And if you are a parent who has ever had to say goodbye to a child, sending them off to college, they move out of the house because they're going to a new job or a new city or a new state. If you've ever had that moment where you've had to let your child go as they grow in their life, this episode's for you. I want to show you a piece of art. It's an absolutely beautiful piece of art, dare I say an emotional piece of art, of relatively recent vintage from the year 1900 by an artist named Piotr, I hope I'm saying this right, Stachiewicz. Sounds like a fine Irish name. No, I'm kidding, of course. Sounds like a Polish name. And it's called Christ's Farewell to Mary. And it's a very, very poignant scene. Again, if you're a parent, a godparent, a grandparent who's ever had to say goodbye to a son or a daughter as they've left the house to move on with their life, to grow into who they're supposed to be, this painting should resonate with you somehow. Let me say at the outset, this painting does not paint anything that's biblical. In fact, we have no recollection in any of the four Gospels, and there's no comment at all about the time when Jesus leaves home. But in this scene, you have to imagine he did, though. It's obviously at some point he leaves to go into his public ministry. He goes about his business of becoming who he is called to become. And but this painting just evokes so much emotion for me because it's that moment where Mary is walked outside of her house with Jesus, and they're like embracing each other as they're saying goodbye, that he's going to be going on to start his ministry, his public ministry. And you see in the background, in the doorway, in the shadows lurking a little bit, you see Joseph, his father, who's probably already said his goodbyes, but here's his mother. And it's almost like this blessing that they're giving each other. Not in a blessing the way we think of it necessarily, but just the intimacy between the two. It's just so beautiful. It's so poignant. And in the background, off to the right, as you look at this painting, in the background, it's where he has to go. It looks like Jerusalem. Like this is my destiny. I've got to go. I've got to preach. I've got to suffer. I'm going to die so I can rise as part of our salvation. So it's all wrapped up in this, and it's such a beautiful moment. My wife and I have been blessed with 3 children. We've taken them all to college, and I'll admit this. I have no problem with that. I'm Irish. I wear my heart on my sleeve. I have cried like a baby with each time I've dropped them off at their college. It's not easy. It's never an easy thing. To let go of your child. You leave a part of your heart behind. And that's why I love this painting so much. It just can really relate to what Mary must be feeling, that everything I've done for this young man, how I've raised him, how I've tried to be good to him in terms of raising him in the faith and to be a good young man, and now he's got to go do what he has to do. It's just, it hits me where I live. But there's one other little hidden thing in here that the artist paints, and I really want to draw your attention to it because it gives us a glimpse into who Christ was and what his mission was about. And if you look at all of these things, I'm going to say in composite. Now at the bottom, kind of bottom left hand, as you look at this bottom left hand, you see a walking stick that presumably Jesus, after he says goodbye to his mother, will pick up and he'll take with him on his journey. And perched on this walking stick is a little sparrow, and the sparrow's looking up at Jesus. And now you might just think, well, that's just a nice little detail they added in there. It's just like kind of gives it some kind of nice nature feel to it, and who doesn't love a little bird? But it's a sparrow, and that's important because a sparrow in the ancient world, in many, many cultures, a sparrow was considered a sign, an omen of sorts. And so the artist knew this, and he painted it in to represent what the sparrow meant to people in biblical times. And so if we look at this from a Greek standpoint, if you're in ancient Greece, the sparrow was the physical embodiment of Aphrodite, the goddess of love, of true love. And what Jesus is going to do for us is true love. He's going to suffer and die and rise for us. What his mother, when she said yes to the angel, she said, yes, that's out of true love to bring Jesus into this world. If you were someone who was Roman and Roman mythology, the gods that they had and everything, they recognized the sparrow as an omen of impending death. And again, Jesus is going to his ministry, and it's not going to end until he dies, so that he can rise. If the Egyptian culture at that time, again, these are all very prominent cultures at the time of Jesus. The Egyptians believed it was the sparrow that would carry the souls of the dead to the netherworld so that they could have their proper place. So sparrows were very important in terms of death as well. And again, kind of foreshadowing what Jesus is going to go through. Because we're in the Mediterranean region, there are a lot of sailors, a lot of people on boats, a lot of shipping industry and fishing and whatnot. Sailors always looked at the sparrow as a sign of the souls that were lost at sea, that they would rise again, and they took the form of a sparrow. Now, this kind of smacks of reincarnation, but that's not what it meant. It meant for the sailors, it meant that even if you died at sea, your soul will live on. Boy, don't we believe that when a loved one dies, we believe that their soul lives on in heaven with God. And so this is everything foreshadowing what Jesus is going to be all about in his ministry. And finally, if you were Jewish, ancient Jews, right up to the time of Jesus, believed that the sparrow was the sign of humility, because it's a simple bird. It's not like an eagle. It's a simple bird, but it's also the sign of new life, because you see them. They were so prevalent in this region that they must have always been hatching more eggs, giving more birth to more and more sparrows. And so again, foreshadowing what Jesus is going to do, that he's not going to stay dead, but he's going to have new life, and he's going to offer that to us. All of this is wrapped up in that little sparrow that the artist paints in there. But over and above all of that, think about all the cultures I just mentioned. Jesus, his presence in this world, his life, his ministry, his death, his rising, is not just for the Jewish people, it's for all people, in all times, in all places. It's cross-cultural. It's for everybody. And I think it's just a beautiful point to bring up when you look at this painting, not just the emotional attachment if you've said goodbye, as I said, if you've said goodbye to a loved one before, but also the idea of how our faith reaches, there's nothing it can't reach. It goes everywhere. And this little sparrow should remind us of that, not just of Jesus's ministry, but Jesus's ministry for all people, as I said, in all times and in all places. So there you go. Beautiful piece of art to reflect on. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to share it with anybody, we'd love it if you would share our content. If you'd like to subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us on Facebook, we'd really appreciate that. But either way, we hope you will keep tuning in every Friday for Fish on Fridays. Until next time, please be good to each other, and God bless.